Wang Yibo's personal project wins prestigious 2025 award. Xiao Zhan's quiet pride lights up the night. The lights dimmed. A hush swept across the hall, like a held breath before a storm. Crystal chandeliers scattered starlight across silk gowns and tailored suits, but in that electric moment, all eyes were drawn to one name glowing on the screen in molten gold. When the host paused, just long enough to make heart stumble, and then announced the winner, the room erupted. Applause crashed like thunder. Somewhere between disbelief and destiny, Wang Yibo rose from his seat, eyes steady, expression calm, as if he had known all along that this night was written for him. This was not just an award night. This was 2025, and the honor was not for a commercial blockbuster, not for a brand endorsement, not for a carefully packaged idol image. This was for his personal project, a piece born from silence, risk, and a stubborn refusal to compromise. A project he carried quietly for years, away from noise, away from trends. And now, the world was standing to applaud it. Backstage, cameras flashed. Fans screamed his name. Critics whispered about artistic courage. But somewhere far from the stage lights, in a quieter corner of the story, Xiao Zhan watched the news break and smiled. The project no one saw coming. Long before the standing ovation, there was a locked notebook. Wang Yibo had always been known as a man of movement. On stage, on screen, on the racetrack. Precision. Control. Speed. But this project was different. It asked him to slow down, to sit with questions that had no choreography. It was intimate, experimental, and dangerously honest. Industry insiders had warned him. This won't sell. Friends had gently asked, why now? He never answered publicly. Instead, he disappeared between schedules, carving out nights and dawns to build something that belonged only to him. No hype, no leaks, just a small, trusted team and an idea that refused to let go. The project blended performance, visual storytelling, and raw emotional texture. Less a product, more a confession. It challenged the line between celebrity and creator, between idol and artist. When it finally premiered, reactions were immediate and polarized. Some called it bold. Others called it reckless. But one word kept resurfacing in serious reviews. Necessary. A night that changed the narrative. The award ceremony itself felt cinematic. As Wang Yibo walked toward the stage, the applause didn't fade. It grew, rolling forward like a tide. His face remained composed, but those closest to him would later say his hands trembled just slightly. Not from fear, but from the weight of recognition that comes when something deeply personal is finally understood. His acceptance speech was short. No theatrics. No grand declarations. Just gratitude, delivered with a voice that carried more truth than polish. This project, he said, was something I made when I didn't know if it would be accepted. I made it because I needed to. The room fell silent again, this time, not in anticipation, but in respect. In that moment, Wang Yibo was no longer being measured by charts or algorithms. He was being honored for vision. Xiao Zhan's reaction, quiet but powerful. While social media exploded within minutes, hashtags surging, clips replayed endlessly, another story unfolded away from the cameras. According to those close to him, Xiao Zhan had followed the project from a distance. No public endorsements. No obvious signals. Just quiet attention. He understood what it meant to step outside expectations, to bet on sincerity in an industry that often rewards safety. When the announcement broke, Xiao Zhan reportedly paused whatever he was doing, replayed the clip once, then again. He didn't post immediately. He didn't rush to the spotlight. He simply said to someone nearby, he did it his way. Later, a subtle gesture appeared, a brief message, understated yet unmistakable. Fans caught it instantly. The timing, the phrasing, the warmth beneath the restraint. It wasn't loud pride. It was earned pride. For longtime followers of both artists, it felt like a full-circle moment. Two men who had walked parallel paths of pressure, growth, and reinvention, now standing on opposite sides of the same triumph. The internet erupts. By dawn, the digital world was on fire. Clips of the acceptance speech trended globally. Fan edits juxtaposed early career footage with the award night glow-up. Comment sections filled with phrases like, "This is what evolution looks like," and "not just a star, an artist." What surprised many was how the conversation shifted. Instead of focusing on numbers, fans and critics alike dissected themes, symbolism, intention. University forums discussed the project's artistic risks. Industry veterans praised its refusal to chase formulas. And woven through it all was a recurring sentiment: respect. Not hype. Not frenzy. Respect. What this win really means. Awards come and go. Shelves fill up. Headlines fade. But this win marked something deeper. It signaled a turning point, not just for Wang Yibo, but for how personal artistry is valued in mainstream spaces. It proved that vulnerability can stand shoulder to shoulder with spectacle. That a project born from doubt can end in standing ovations. For Wang Yibo, it was validation without compromise. For zhan, it was confirmation of resilience, of growth, of a fellow traveler who chose the harder road and reached somewhere rare. And for fans, it was a reminder that behind the flawless performances and polished images are real people making real choices, often in silence. The afterglow. As the night wound down, Wang Yibo stepped outside the venue. The city lights blurred into something softer. He didn't linger for long. No victory lap. Just a quiet moment, phone in hand, reading messages from people who mattered. One message, short and simple, stood out. He smiled. Not the kind of smile meant for cameras, but the kind that comes when effort meets understanding. In 2025, a personal project changed a narrative, bridged two journeys, and reminded the world that sometimes the most powerful wins are the ones you make for yourself. And somewhere between applause and silence, pride, quiet, steady, and undeniable, found its voice. The making of a risk inside Wang Yibo's personal project that rewrote 2025. Before the applause, before the gold-lettered envelope, before the world learned to say award-winning in the same breath as his name, there was a room with the lights turned off. Not metaphorically. Literally. Wang Yibo sat alone in a dim studio long after midnight, the city outside humming like a restless machine. The walls were bare, the floor marked with tape lines and scuffed shoes. No cameras. No assistants whispering schedules. Just him, the echo of his own thoughts, and a project that refused to be easy. This was part one of the story no one saw, the birth of a project that would later stun 2025. When silence became the blueprint, the industry expected momentum. Bigger roles, louder releases, faster wins. Instead, Wang Yibo chose silence. He turned down offers that promised instant visibility and redirected that time into something unnamed, unfinished, and deeply uncomfortable. This project had no guaranteed platform, no proven audience. It didn't follow the rhythm of trends. It followed the rhythm of questions. Who am I when no one is watching? What remains when performance ends? What happens if I fail? Publicly? These questions shaped every frame, every movement, every deliberate pause in the project. He wasn't trying to impress. He was trying to understand. Those close to the process later revealed that entire segments were scrapped days before completion, not because they weren't good, but because they weren't honest enough. Wang Yibo would stop rehearsals abruptly, sit down on the floor, and say only one thing: "It doesn't feel true yet." That insistence became the spine of the work, the scene that almost never happened. There was one sequence, now widely cited by critics as the emotional core of the project, that nearly disappeared forever. It was raw, stripped of music. No dramatic lighting. Just breath, movement, and exhaustion. During early run-throughs, the room reportedly felt too heavy, too exposed. Even the crew hesitated. "This is dangerous," someone said quietly. Not physically, emotionally. Wang Yibo listened. Then he nodded and asked them to keep rolling. That scene later became the moment audiences couldn't look away from. The moment reviewers described as uncomfortably human. The moment that proved this project wasn't designed to be consumed, it was designed to be felt. The first private screening. Weeks before the public debut, a private screening was held for a handful of creatives and evaluators. No press. No phones. Just a room full of people who knew how risky this was. When the final frame faded to black, no one clapped. For a full 10 seconds, the room stayed frozen. Then someone exhaled loudly. Another person wiped their eyes, almost embarrassed. A senior figure in the industry leaned back and said something that would later echo through the award jury's deliberations. This is not a project made to be liked. It's a project made to be remembered. That night, Wang Yibo left without waiting for feedback. He walked alone through the parking lot, unsure whether he had just created his proudest work or the biggest mistake of his career. From risk to recognition. When the project finally entered award consideration for 2025, it did so quietly. No aggressive campaigning. No flashy narratives. It sat there among louder, safer contenders like a calm storm. And yet, in judging rooms, something strange happened. Panel members kept returning to it. Not because it was perfect, but because it lingered. Scenes replayed in their minds hours later. Lines surfaced during unrelated discussions. Movements felt personal, even intrusive. It refused to stay contained. One juror reportedly said, "I didn't enjoy it, but I can't stop thinking about it." That sentence sealed its fate. The night the risk paid off. So when Wang Yibo's name was finally called on that glittering 2025 night, it wasn't just an award being handed over. It was a verdict. A verdict that said risk still matters. That sincerity can outshine spectacle. That a personal project can stand tall in a public arena. As he stood on stage, the calm in his eyes wasn't confidence. It was release. The kind that comes when something you protected in the dark is finally understood in the light. And somewhere beyond the spotlight, those who knew how hard this first step had been understood something else too. This award wasn't the end of a journey. It was the beginning of a new chapter. One written not by expectation, but by choice.